This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bockelman.
All right, glad to be with you again, wrestling fans, as we go on our journey toward WrestleMania. It's a little bit away, but we're, SummerSlam's usually kind of, you feel like the halfway point, which is interesting because WrestleMania was like 3 months ago. Yeah. So it's nowhere near the halfway point, but it just feels like that in the wrestling calendar. And they're definitely heating up some storylines. We'll talk about all the specifics, obviously, going on in all these different feuds. But I got to tell you, Triple H is on fire in my mind. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was thinking back to when a couple years ago they had these premium live events on Sunday, and I didn't have to wait a day to get to Monday Night Raw and see what all the reactions were. And I kind of felt that on Sunday. I was waiting for my wrestling on Monday Night Raw. And that's right where WWE wants you. I'm Jake Bachman, once again, host of Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket with my tag team partner, Nuclear Heat contributor Augie Pena. And the one thing that I think that I've heard as a complaint from SummerSlam, and again, we can get to the specifics in particular here in a minute, but I've seen some talk. Adam Carricker on his show earlier today thought, it was a little bit too predictable. I know in wrestling circles, wrestling media, there's kind of been that argument, is too predictable bad? Is it, can it work? And I think that there was a level of predictability to the show, but in my mind, it's a lot of it was paying off what the fans want. Sometimes wrestling, because they don't want to be predictable, gets in their own way and kind of steers in different directions where the fans are just sitting there saying, this is what we want and give it to us. And sometimes WWE will do that. And I feel like that's kind of what's been done as we're setting up for a lot of interesting feuds and what I wanted to see coming out of SummerSlam. Did you find it at all too predictable, Augie?
It was, but like you said, I really enjoyed it because it's what needed to happen. It's like you said, it's the payoff, the storylines, they're getting everything going. I saw that too. Everyone's saying it's very predictable, but it's what needed to happen and what we wanted. And there's some very satisfying moments. There were some moments I was kind of like, but I was like, that was good. I don't really think there was a bad match, a bad card, a bad outcome. I thought it was great. Pretty much, I think we, in our predictions too, I think we nailed, pretty much everything, on there. But yeah, I thought it was great. It all needed to happen. And, Monday Night Raw was a continuation of that. And I think, as you said, Triple H is really doing a good job. We were kind of doubting him there for a little bit, but I think after this SummerSlam, I think everything's on track.
Well, it's kind of fun. And again, we'll get into Raw here in a bit, but Paul Levesque, as he's known as the Booker, getting brought back into it a little bit. Randy Orton throwing out the name Triple H a few times there. So, I love that. I love the Triple H persona. He came out in SummerSlam, which, his entrance is one of the best of all times.
Yep.
I didn't think gets to the level where he's spitting the water. I don't know if he's still doing that, but I wish he would, but obviously not as a competitor at this point. Still, it's special when his music hits. So let's jump into it. SummerSlam, a lot going on there. And one of the reasons I primarily loved this premium live event probably was because how much I love the faction Judgment Day. And this was definitely a turning point in the history of Judgment Day, starting with the first match, which again, when you go through why a premium live event was executed well, some of it is placement in the card. Okay, was there lulls? Was there a match you didn't really want to see? What gets the opener, what gets the close, and opening with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, I think has been perfect. Probably, you got to think up there with one of the hottest women's feuds we've had in years. So somewhat silly because it's part of it is with Dom Mysterio in the middle of it altogether. But this thing was just amazing. This was a match when you talk about predictability. I think there were a few that they could have gone either way with. Rhea, who has not lost and has not been pinned in a long time. She had her championship reign. They could have went with her, but they did what a lot of people say was predictable, but still the right move in having Dom do the heel turn, which is funny because he was already heel. It's a double heel turn, I suppose, and help Liv Morgan win this match. This was, again, not without a banger of a match led before it. A great storytelling. Rhea Ripley having to pop her shoulder back in place, making her look like a beast as she hit it up against the announcer's table. Had to do that later on in the match as well. So there was good storytelling in there as well. And of course, Liv Morgan wins the Women's World Championship. Again, the way we're doing this is that we were it's Tuesday, so we already know what happened on Monday Night Raw. We can kind of mention what happened there as well. Is that Liv Morgan is part of the new Judgment Day, as Finn Balor would later in the night also make a division. And so two of the pillars of Judgment Day, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, now out of it. Liv Morgan now in it. And I think there was a little bit wrong. I think something that's a little bit off was the presentation of Liv Morgan in Judgment Day yesterday on Raw. And I loved Monday Night Raw as well. It just felt, as she's the Women's World Champion, she felt like a just another piece to Judgment Day. Yeah. It wasn't like this grand deal that it was happening. And of course, everybody was waiting to see what Rhea Ripley was going to do to Dom and to Liv Morgan, as she was just swearing in the middle of the ring at SummerSlam. But SummerSlam first, and then kind of the execution on Raw. How are you feeling about this Rhea Ripley Liv Morgan feud, which is clearly continuing and adding to the story as we go?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought the SummerSlam card was great. You know, the match in itself was, I would think, like an 8 out of 10. You know, like you said, the storytelling, Rhea having to hit her shoulder on the announce table, I think that shook everybody. Like, there was a huge pop. Liv playing the scared of Rhea card, and then kind of did it, and then the Dom turn was just perfection. I think it like you said, very predictable. But how does a guy who's already like one of the hottest heels do a heel turn when he's like that? It's just great. Really great storytelling, and then Rhea just really selling it there too. And then, I agree with you. She's kind of just, this is going to sound bad, but like a side character, like you said, a side piece to Dom and everything there. I wish they would book her a little bit stronger than they are. Right now she's still afraid of Rhea, which I get, because Rhea is a lot bigger than she is. But man, these two put on a great match there. And I love the inclusion of Dom in this, because it adds that element of comedy, to it. They go a little bit overboard with some things, and I loved Raw, but as I told you before the show, I didn't like I was waiting for Rhea's reaction the whole night. I was kind of waiting for the Judgment Day part of Raw. That was kind of I want to see what happens. And the Damian part, calling out Finn and all that, I thought was great. But Rhea kind of just had this part of, when it's all happening, just comes out, kind of has like a 3-minute segment, 5-minute segment of that. Doesn't
for as
say
much
anything.
Star power and momentum she has in this feud, to use her for 3 minutes on Raw was kind of
but
decision.
I did love the payoff, because the Terror Twins, like you said, the OGs, the original pillars of the Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Rhea, they hugged and they were like, "Hey, it's the two of us." So I really like that part of it on there. And I mean, it was good. It was good. Like I said before, last week, I was going to be sad when the Judgment Day was going to be done, but hey, the way they're telling it, I'm okay with it. It's going to go for a while. I'm excited to see kind of if Rhea and Damian pick up some members, or if last night they cleared the Judgment Day. They did it themselves. It was a 5-on-1 against Damian. Then Rhea came and they just destroyed. So excited to see what they go from there with that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And again, Judgment Day is probably my favorite faction, even more than the Bloodline. I know everybody loves the Bloodline. Maybe it's with Sammy Bloodline. I might have an argument there, but I've just loved the Judgment Day over the last couple of years. And so I have not, I know a lot of people have been calling for their breakup at some point, and they held off to this. This was the moment to hold off to, and they just did it in a way that you still have a Judgment Day, and you still have a feud for Priest when we talk about that, when his next move. So I think this was all done well. And again, Liv Morgan has been elevated almost, I don't want to say quite to the status of Rhea Ripley, but through Rhea Ripley, and that's impressive that you can not only get yourself to the level of maybe the hottest attraction as far as a women's wrestler in the world in WWE, but to get your rivals up there as well. It's just fantastic. So, I mean, this story continues and it still looks great, and a great way to open SummerSlam. Second match on the card, we had Braun Breaker defeat Sami Zayn. Of course, this was the second match on a premium live event. This for the Intercontinental Championship. not a whole lot to go through here. Good match. Sami Zayn, they kind of tried to tell the story of a fighting champion with a good enough match. It was kind of a quick match, but nevertheless, Braun Breaker learning from his mistakes the first time around against Sami Zayn, gets the championship, the Intercontinental Championship. And again, it's interesting. I'm a big Braun Breaker fan. I think he's got a big future ahead of him. I still feel like he's a little bit lost as a character. DP was talking about it earlier with him, and he really feels like he should be a Steiner. You feel like you're missing a layup there by just saying Braun Steiner or whatever name you want to give him. But Braun Breaker trying to kind of make a name on his own. His dad and uncle were there at SummerSlam to watch him get the championship. And I'm interested to see what his Intercontinental title run will be, because this is it kind of feels like they could tell the story or close to a story of going through what Gunther just went through, because he's that believable if he can kind of figure out right how to defeat the veterans, which is the story they were telling by beating Sami Zayn.
Yeah, and I was really surprised this was the second match of the night, because typically the second match of the night is kind of the match you don't expect to be a banger, one like that. And I guess, like you said, it was kind of it was almost like not a squash match, but essentially it was, Braun kind of taking full advantage of it. It's great. I think Braun Breaker, we've called for it. Give him this title run. Sammy did a good job for, being the guy that defeated Gunther, kind of going through it. And now, the Intercontinental Champion has, I would say, another legitimate beast, kind of like Gunther was. And I want them to do that as well. Braun, I'm not one to talk. I don't think I have a great voice either, but something about his voice, it's just not, intimidating. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, he's got a normal voice, and that to me is weird, because like a Brock Lesnar, I guess maybe I shouldn't, Roman, like guys like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. But they have like these monster voices, and he kind of just has
it's like everyman voice.
An everyman voice. So that's the one thing to me. I think he's great in the ring, needs to do better on the mic, but you got to run with this. I think, there should be a Sammy versus Braun part 3, just continue it, as we see and all that stuff. But keep it going with him. I mean, he lost once to Sammy. I don't see why you'd have to have him lose again for a while, just kind of run through it and see how it goes, see if the fans are still behind him, after you get that type of a run going on there. But great decision here. Wasn't the best match, I'd say is one of those I was a little disappointed with, but great outcome.
Well, and Braun Breaker is one of those guys that, whether you know his name and he's working on building his name, he's just impressive to see live because of how quick and athletic he is. So I think that's going to be, something that he can kind of carry. And we talk about, we want the problem with wrestling fans and media is in general is you just want to shoot everybody to the moon. Yeah. Of course, a lot of people want Braun Breaker, but you got to tell these different stories. We want the Wyatt Six to go after a bigger part of the card. We want Braun Breaker to beat everybody. We want LA Knight to finally get his championship. We want, so you want so many things. So you got to kind of have to tier these things. And by putting Braun Breaker again in the Intercontinental kind of side of things, which is a mid-card title, I suppose, is how you could describe it, is that he can kind of do his own dominating run, much like Gunther, and they probably won't go as long as Gunther because that was a historic run. But they can do that for a while and kind of set him up as unbeatable without having him face the top players in the company until he's ready, which is what they're doing with Gunther now, right? They use that to elevate him king of the ring. Now he is taking on Randy Orton at the next big premium live event. So I think it's a good idea. My run critique is going to be the same thing as going back, is that I just don't know if it. I think years from now we would have remembered Braun Breaker debuting in the WWE and quickly beating Gunther for at WrestleMania for that Intercontinental title. So to give it to Sami Zayn, asking a few months later, was it worth it? Sami Zayn had his title reign basically defeating Chad Gable. They kind of already told that story. Then beat Braun Breaker. Now lost to Braun Breaker. You mentioned a rubber match. Can't imagine they're going to go Sami Zayn's route there. So just as I look back on it, maybe they thought he wasn't quite ready. They gave him a few months of, okay, let's see what we've got here on the main roster. But again, if I would have went back and done it, I was calling for it at the time. I think Breaker should have been the one to beat the streak of Gunther, because I don't think we're going to remember, especially with a rather weak title run from Sami Zayn as Intercontinental Championship, as an Intercontinental Champion. I don't know if we're going to remember Sami necessarily doing that.
No, yeah, and I do agree. I was very disappointed that Sammy beat Gunther. I know it was time to do that, but the one thing I will say, Sammy's now available to do another storyline that's
right.
probably going to heat up again. And you said it, that was probably your favorite faction. So hey,
Yeah.
build, have him. He had that title reign. He kind of has a little bit of credibility behind him again. Put him back in that faction. That storyline. You got gold. So they were stringing us along, so I can kind of see it. But I agree with you. I would have loved to see Braun be the guy that beat Gunther, have that big defining win. Because right now, like you said, Sammy, it's like, okay, yeah, you beat Sami Zayn, who a lot of people probably didn't think deserved. Deserve's not the right word, but should have been the guy.
I mean, his story, even when he wins the title, is I'm still an underdog because you don't think I'm going to win against the top guys.
And I hate those promos. It's every single time. And to his credit, every time we talk about him that he had that title, we were like, he's not deserving. He wasn't the guy. So right. I can see where they build on it. But yeah, it just wasn't the thing for me. And now Braun, because, we say he can be on this dominant run, but they also got to be careful. They got to give him some legitimate mid-carders, some guys that are going to add to it, because they can't just give him, I don't even know who the mid-carders are at this point. And there are some decent ones, but, you can't just have him squash after squash after squash, because then it becomes a boring, you get tired of this guy just doing that. So you got to keep him in legitimate title runs there. But who's the guy? The new guy from NXT too. I can never say his name. It starts with an I.
Ilya Dragunov.
Yeah. Hey,
that looks like that's probably what's coming up around the corner.
I'm telling you, he's been impressive. I have no idea who he was. We don't do NXT.
Yeah,
he's been very impressive. Those two can put on a match, and I'm excited to see, because, like you said, that's where it's looking like that's probably going to go.
Yeah,
that could be a good feud there, where if he gets a couple wins over Braun, and then Braun beat, they kind of go back and forth. That's legitimate for both of them there, and that helps build two at a time. Instead of just Braun, it kind of helps, a couple more guys out at the same time. So,
well, I got a different idea for Dragunov. I don't know if they'll go this route, but WWE often does, is that I would love for him to join Imperium, because I think him as a heel, the European arrogance that they have, Imperium in with Gunther's run is two people. So, and one is, one is like Superman, and the other one is kind of fighting at mid card, kind of getting there, but not necessarily anywhere close. So, I mean, we'll see. They've got some creativity, but I'm glad you mentioned, that Sami Zayn and Jey Uso kind of talking about maybe going after a tag team run, because that could eventually, if they're together, bring them back in pretty quickly into the Bloodline story, and that would be great, right?
Yeah.
That's another payoff, long-term storytelling. I think almost everybody would agree that this. I wouldn't say everybody. I know there are some folks that didn't necessarily want to see. I didn't want to see Sami Zayn beat Roman Reigns, but I think a lot of people did.
Oh yeah,
during his Bloodline run. So I think bringing him back in would bring a lot of heat to that story as well. Let's move on. LA Knight defeating Logan Paul. This, of course, was something you've been waiting for as a LA Knight fan for a while now. And of course, this was they kind of told this story pretty well on SmackDown. Logan Paul tried to have a banner raised in his city, and LA Knight had written over it, and then he stole his truck. And so, I mean, I always kind of like that, all that side stuff they kind of had going on. And then once I saw Logan Paul with MGK, I thought, okay, well, here you go. You're not going to have a celebrity show up and not help Logan Paul get over. And once he gave him the brass knuckles, kind of thinking the same thing. But LA Knight able to overcome a punch for the brass knuckles, which I don't know about that decision necessarily, because that's supposed to be in wrestling. That's supposed to be the end of it. But I mean, that kind of plays into it. But LA Knight finally getting a title. It is the U.S. title. Like we said with the Intercontinental, kind of a mid-card title. So it's something to start with, though, for him.
Yeah. And this match I thought was great, because it started before the bell rang. They were going at it before and all that stuff. And on the MGK stuff, it's MGK. So I wasn't too worried about it. He's kind of fallen off since Eminem decided to, diss him. So
was he outshined by Jelly Roll is the question.
I think at this event he was, because Jelly Roll at least, did that choke slam, which we'll get to.
It was sold pretty well.
That was beautiful. Like,
he looks like a wrestler too.
I was gonna say
Jelly Roll just looks like he'd fit in a faction somewhere.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard Jelly Roll performed before.
Yeah.
He's not bad. I don't know what
Yeah.
type of music he does. Doesn't look like he's a country singer, but but yeah, you know, I think Jelly Roll was fine with that. But yes, LA Knight finally got that title. Logan Paul, you know, doing a great job. We know who he is, you know, one of the most viewed YouTubers, one of the most famous people in the world. Great to see him here. I think this is a chance he's either going to go away, you know, we'll see what they do with him here. They can have a little bit of a more feud go on, or he can go away for just a little bit and then come back with a huge pop and maybe go after a bigger title, you know, kind of where he's needed. I think he did an amazing job there, but my boy, LA Knight, got the title. You know, it's only taken about 4 years for him to get a title. I am a little worried though, because if it's not Logan Paul, to me, SmackDown right now is just at such a low point. You don't know, you know, I think we've talked about it. They've missed opportunities with LA Knights in the past 2 years, I think, to where he was mega hot.
Mhm.
And right now he's still a fan favorite, but he's not there still. So he's not a top, you know, this kills me to say, but he's not where he was, a top draw,
Right,
you
yeah.
know? So they need to be careful with who he's going, you know, to feud with next. And like I said, if it's not Logan Paul, SmackDown, you don't really know, you know, who's next, you know,
Yeah.
and I hope it is a long title reign. It's a successful one. Cause you know, he's my boy, you know, I want him to do great things. But I kind of got a little worried about that after, you know, he won it. It kind of clicked. I was happy. And then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, if it's not Logan, I'm a little worried there, but it was a great time to be an LA Knight fan. It was just a great time to be a wrestling fan there. You know,
Yeah.
He's holding it up, you know, finally has that title. You know, he's like 43 years old, you know, and they finally give it to him. So it was a great moment.
He came a long way from that modeling gimmick that
Yep.
he had to come in with. So, you know, it is a story of redemption, a redemption story, I think, for LA Knight there. We got plenty still to break down. Nia Jax and Bayley, Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, Damian Priest and Gunther, and of course the main event, Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. We've also got Monday Night Raw to talk about. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Stevens & Smith Construction is a full-service, employee-owned concrete company that specializes in residential and commercial foundations and flat work. They've been a leader in the concrete industry since 1971, with nearly 250 employees combining for more than 2,000 years of service. With locations in Lincoln, Omaha, and Kansas City, they're united in quality, integrity, and professionalism to create excellence in construction. Learn more today at stevensandsmith.com.
Announcing Acres' end of summer sales event. Acres has dropped its prices on select late model John Deere tractors, combines, and corn heads. Act now and upgrade your equipment before harvest season. Trade in your old equipment today and get unbelievable discounts that could save you over $100,000. With great financing options and our A-plus support, there's no better time to buy. Visit your local Acres store or see the huge savings at acres.com. That's AKRS.com to see the best prices in the nation.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT. From cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation right now at appliedconnective.com.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports is quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Ready to add a dash of Southern flavor to your week? At Wings and Rings, their brand new Southern fried wings have arrived for a limited time. Indulge in the irresistible goodness of large, traditional bone-in wings coated in a crispy beer batter and fried to perfection. Try them with hot honey or any other sauces. And for those busy summer days coming up, look no further than their Southern Fried Wings Family Bundle. Wings and Rings, 2 Lincoln locations on O Street or Village Lane.
Hey Husker Nation, this is Todd Euler, 2-time national champion, here to talk to you about Window World Lincoln. At Window World, we specialize in replacement windows, doors, siding, and roofing. Whether you're looking to enhance the beauty of your home or increase its energy efficiency, we've got you covered. And here's the best part. We offer the best for less. Our team is dedicated to providing top quality products and exceptional service at affordable prices. We want to earn your business and make your home improvement dreams a reality. So why wait? Contact Window World Lincoln today at 464-7313 or visit our website at windowworldlincoln.com. Window World Lincoln, where quality meets affordability.
As a proud member of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, Coalition Restoration stands out by providing thorough property assessments, personalized customer service, and top-notch craftsmanship. With years of experience in the industry, Coalition Restoration has built a notable reputation for having a team filled with skilled professionals and possessing the expertise to handle any roofing project, big or small. Visit their website today for a free roof assessment at www.coalitionrestoration.com or give them a call at 402-607-8186. Your business runs like a well-oiled machine. It's important that your actual machines do too. Stern is here to make sure you don't have to worry about that. They provide solutions for heavy equipment and automotive fuels, lubricants, and equipment guard options. And with Stern's commitment to customer service for the past 40 years, you know you have a partner to help support your operations for years to come. Contact Roger at Stern Company by calling 1-800-477-2744 or visit them online at stern.co. Stern Company, where problems meet solvers.
Rain, snow, or shine, John Henry's is here to keep your home's plumbing systems working properly no matter what kind of weather Nebraska throws at us. From unclogging toilets and drains to installing new water heaters and water treatment systems, John Henry's is your plumbing expert in the Lincoln and Omaha communities. Visit us at calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
And we are back on Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket, our weekly WWE Week in Review show. So if you are a wrestling fan, know of wrestling fans, tell them to go ahead and find us. We do it every week. You can find us on theticketfm.com. YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. There's too many of them. I suppose I should say X now, and I maybe not have that problem. But, of course, Allo TV. Plenty going on in wrestling for us to talk about, and so we love to do it every week for you. Let's jump back into SummerSlam. We've already mentioned a few of the matches so far down the card. Liv Morgan defeating Rhea Ripley. Braun Breaker defeating Sami Zayn. Braun Breaker, the new Intercontinental Champion. New U.S. title going to LA Knight, and then we pick up where we left off there. Nia Jax and Bayley. This one for the WWE Women's title. Bayley did get some shots in here, including a powerbomb on Nia Jax. Always impressive when a smaller person could do that to somebody that big. Ultimately, we had the distraction from Tiffany Stratton, so the tease of maybe cashing in her new look, Money in the Bank. But ultimately, the distraction was too much for Bayley. Nia Jax hit a couple annihilators, and that was the story that was told. She's your new WWE Women's Champion. How do you feel about how they booked this? No Money in the Bank, cash in, but a tease.
Yeah, and well, first off, when Nia Jax presented Tiffany with that brand new beautiful case for the briefcase that got destroyed, you kind of knew she's going to hold on to that for just a little bit.
It's good prop.
Her character. Yeah.
Good new prop for her.
But I thought this is predictable, but how it needed to go. We talked about it. Bayley's run was kind of very stale. She hadn't really done anything. It's kind of like one of those, they gave her the title and then didn't know what to do with her. I'm not a big Nia Jax fan, and all that stuff, but this was the right move. Queen of the Ring. She'll be a legitimate champion for right now. I'm interested to see where they go with her. Very interested to see what they do with Bayley. Do they just run this back? Kind of have Nia, Tiffany, and Bayley, continue kind of this fake cash in. Now new champ, Bayley's trying to get it back. But this was the right call. You know, I think everybody could see that. You know, Bailey, they need to kind of do something with her again, reinvent her, kind of get her back up because it's just very stale. You know, just nothing going on there. So, you know, hey, Nia Jax, I know you're a fan of hers. She's a champ again. So
she is a champ, but it is interesting because it's done in a way where she is just, you know, this is not going to be a long title run. And so, I mean, I do think it's fantastic to have the two friends, and you're going to have that dynamic of, oh, my friend's down. Maybe this is the time I should cash in. And you'll have those teases probably a few times before you eventually get the cash in. Then you've got the natural heat of Nia Jax wanting to get revenge. So you got a lot of a story that you can kind of work with here. And that kind of brings me to my question is, they call it a transitional champ. So Nia Jax probably in transitional champ territory. How many feuds do you think she gets through before she gets cashed in on?
I mean, maybe they run it back with Bailey, and then I think you go straight into Tiffany. Because like you said, I know WrestleMania was only 4 months ago, but they're starting to kind of show the blueprint of, you know, the feuds, you know, that possibly might be for WrestleMania. So, you know, we're going in that stretch of very long storytelling. I'd say 2 feuds, you know, Bailey, she'll probably retain. And then eventually Tiffany, she won't. Like you said, it's going to be a bunch of tease, you know, of cash in and, you know, like you said, friends, but not friends. And then it'll crumble. It'll be a good, I think this will be one of the stronger storylines because it's been one of the more fun storylines. And fun fact, I didn't realize Nia Jax is already 40 years old as well.
Is she?
So she's, you know, possibly towards the end of her career and Tiffany's at the start. So, you know, this is the perfect time to kind of, you know, help give her as much of a rub as Nia Jax can give somebody at this point. But, you know, I think 2 feuds there. So,
yeah. And I know you don't like her because she's had some botches in her career, but she is she's tough to replicate as far as a physical presence on the roster.
Yeah.
And so, you know, sometimes, and I've always been a big fan. WWE, especially under Vince McMahon, was the land of the giants. I like giants, and Nia Jax kind of fits in that category in the women's division. And so it's good to see who would win in real life win sometimes.
Yeah.
So it kind of takes you, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense because, you know, we talked about it. You know, we'll go back. Io Sky, you know, kind of not a believable champion because she's like 5 foot, you know, maybe 95 pounds, you know, 100 pounds. Zelina Vega, you know, how can they beat those? So I get it. And I will say this for being, how do I say this polite? Bigger, I guess I could say Nia Jax. She's actually very dominant. Like, you know, you had a lot of other, you know, women be, you know, of her size and not be as, you know, how would you say, like technical in the ring, you know, able to actually wrestle. And she, for the most part, when she's not, you know, breaking noses and, you know, hurting her own self, you know, doing some comedy bits there, a bunch of botches, she's pretty good. You know, she looks real in the ring. So I do got to tip my hat off to her for that, even though I know I'm not the biggest fan. You know, she does a decent job.
Yeah, and she definitely gets a crowd reaction, which is good as a heel. But you did also mention Bailey. Now we mentioned her; she's lost as a champion.
Yep.
Now she's probably even more lost without that championship, which is weird again because she's been so strong over her career and have kind of gone through these different waves. And I think the damage control thing some people thought was stale at points, but I think they cleaned it up well. So I don't know what they do with her next. I mean, it's going to be, they got to find something for her. There's character callbacks they could go to. I hope they don't necessarily, but they got to find, I don't know what her character is right now. It was Smiley Girl with a belt. Now it's Smiley Girl. So what do you do?
Yeah. You know, I'm going to say this, and there's been a lot of rumors, a little bit off topic, but I think it goes good with a lot of people. They need to bring mid-card titles for the women's division. They need to do a Miss USA, you know, a Miss something. They need to give them feuds around something, just like the men's, you know, Intercontinental Championship, USA. And we've heard rumors, you know, there's been a lot of rumors recently that that's what they want to do. I think this would be the perfect time because there's just Bianca Belair. You know, I know she's with Jade, but there, you know, a lot of these women don't have storylines. She doesn't need to win, but when you unveil a title, you know, it brings excitement and you can do tournaments, you know, something like that. Give everybody a storyline and a chance, see who stands out, see who the crowd reacts to. That would be what I would do. Realistically, if they don't bring a title, though, I have no idea what there is for Bailey because she just doesn't. Bianca's kind of got her thing, you know, going with Jade because you forget Bianca's on SmackDown because You know, she's kind of lost in that tag team, you know, storyline, this and that. But she's probably outside of now Nia and Tiffany, the most credible, you know, lady. I mean, really, I'm trying to think of the SmackDown roster, women's for her. And aside from moving Bayley over to Raw, I really don't know what else they can do with her.
Well, and, you know, she's kind of had palled with Lyra Valkyria, so maybe you could do something there. But I will say this, and again, it's not necessarily just a Bayley thing. This is an industry thing. Is sometimes some time off can really help because we always say Bayley has nothing. Give her 3 months off and then bring her back in a surprise fashion, and then all of a sudden we're excited because then we think of the best times of Bayley.
Yeah.
And you know, to include recently, you've still got her championship that you can call back on.
Yeah.
So you know, I think that could be something they do. I do think the obvious thing is that we'll probably see Nia Jax and Bayley run it back, like you said earlier.
Yeah. And then there's one wild card too that we haven't talked about in over a year because she's been injured. Charlotte Flair, I think, is close to coming back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, she doesn't. Everybody complains because she's gone. She wrestles like, you know, 5 times a year, gets injured, and then comes back, and she's automatically put in the title conversation.
Usually wins the championship on the night of her return.
Pretty much. She, you know, it's not
will.
announced, and she does. So you can't. I don't think you can do that in either of the titles because they kind of got a long story. You know, hey, you bring Charlotte back. You know, maybe put her into a feud with Bayley. You know, maybe get them. You know, they've been rivals. They've been friends. You know, they've been doing it. Add some character because when Charlotte comes back, she's going to be hot. You know, like you said, she's been out for a while. You know, maybe Bayley does go away for a little bit because I'll be honest with you. I used to be a big Bayley fan. I'm kind of tired of everything right now with her just because it's not necessarily her. It's just, it's not working. You know, it's, you know, we talked about it with Austin Theory, you know, and they keep not wanting to put him away, you know, take him away off TV. But I think for Bayley, you're right. You have to do that. Or Charlotte Flair coming back, you know, maybe do something interesting there.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, shout out to Bayley for what she was able to do to entertain us during the COVID era, the Thunderdome era, because her and Shastra Banks were fantastic during that time. So again, it's not necessarily her work; it's just her character, you know. And you can get to that point where it's like, oh, well, she's done it all. So what is there to do now? And that's kind of where she's at right now. Let's get into Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Seth Rollins, of course, special guest referee in this one. Kind of a throwback. You know, you like those special guest referee appearances, but we kind of mentioned all along is we don't quite get why Seth Rollins is in the middle of this. You know, throughout this match, in you know, it's kind of silly because the bracelet did come into play in a big way again, to where CM Punk just was upset that Seth Rollins was wearing the bracelet of his dog and AJ Lee. The bracelet's so silly. If we don't get AJ Lee back out of it, then it's just it's going to be infuriating. If it eventually leads to AJ coming back, then so be it. Okay, fine. I can live through it. But I guess, you know, kind of pairing this, and they threw down. I mean, people love this match. I think both live and on the internet. But last night, what we saw on Raw too is that it looks like they're going to continue CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
And when's the payoff? So this whole thing was like, why is Seth Rollins in there? And I guess the story that's coming out of it is that just to continue it, just so that this isn't the payoff for Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. And I don't know. At a certain point, like, the story is good, but I don't. You just gotta find something because when's the payoff then?
Yeah,
is Punk beating McIntyre? Does that mean more when he does it than this victory here? I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say one more thing. I'm past AJ Lee. I want them to bring the dog into this feud now. I want them to.
What's his name? Carl or something?
Lenny? Is it Lenny?
It might be something.
I think it's Lenny. I want them to bring the dog into the ring and be like, "This is Lenny." You know, I'm past AJ Lee, but no, yeah, I agree with you. For the bit that CM Punk and Drew McIntyre actually wrestled, it was great. But I hated the constant distraction of there's Seth. You know, there's this and that. And also, yes, I agree. That bracelet, part of it, stupid. You know, because honestly, Seth could have just put the bracelet on so it didn't get ruined or something. And CM Punk decides to go after him. And I'm like,
a grown adult is now mad that two guys are taking his bracelet.
Exactly. And Seth did nothing malicious towards the bracelet. He literally put it on because it was there.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, it could. And you see that all the time in the ring where a ref grabs a piece, and we're going off on it, but, you know, grabs a piece of the, you know, hangs on to something or something. That's literally what Seth could have done. And then it cost CM Punk, who we both thought hasn't competed in the WWE ring for so long. We've been waiting for it. That cost him the match, and I think we both were like, CM Punk has to win this first one. That's kind of got to be a little bit of the payoff. If you wanted to, you could say Drew McIntyre got his revenge already, beat him.
Yeah.
So now it's flipped. And like you said, for the sake of just continuing this, it didn't make sense. And then last night, like you said, Bronson Reed, like Seth is still involved in it. And then
the
spoiler,
Seth CM Punk stare down was like, that was the point where it's like, yes.
Yeah.
I've been waiting years to see, because Seth would talk trash about CM Punk while he was outside of the company. So this had some real life heat to it. And I think they're reminding you of that while preserving it for later.
Yeah. And as you said, I thought the payoff, okay, all three of these guys kind of, because Seth versus CM Punk was the WrestleMania match until CM Punk got hurt, you know, and then they kind of had to switch it. And then the Drew thing caught heat, so WWE had to kind of go with that. And then CM Punk chases after Drew, and then it's Bronson Reed attacks Seth, and it's like, I just don't know. I told you, I think we all predicted CM Punk Drew was gonna take a little bit, but this match to me lost steam because of Seth being that special referee and kind of the distractions and everything there. It took away from being the banger it needed to. I hate to say it, this one to me, while I was still entertained, was probably one of the more disappointing matches, strictly because it wasn't, it just felt super forced. It wasn't natural. Seth is there to be Seth and all that stuff, to just kind of, like you said, remind us. Because eventually I think that's still the WrestleMania match. That's coming, finally a Seth versus CM Punk. So yeah, this might be hot there, but it was a little disappointing to me. And then especially last night, it started off great. Seth comes out to CM Punk. It was there. And then I don't know, like I said, I want the dog to come into the ring now, something like that. But
well, I just love different people's takes on wrestling because, again, I don't think I've had more fun for maybe a 5 minutes of wrestling than I did with Bronson Reed continuing to tsunami Seth Rollins and all of the guys. There's like 10 guys in the ring trying to stop Bronson Reed from doing it. They just can't get in his way. And all they have to do is move Seth Rollins. Yeah. Like, move his landing spot. But that's this kind of the silliness of wrestling sometimes. But yeah, I think, some people said that and said, okay, start making performance tsunami, the tsunami city, basically going off Brock Lesnar. But there are other people that say, yeah, I just, this is, how did Seth Rollins now get defeated by Bronson Reed, who they just haven't built up that way? Of course, me, special place in my heart for the Andre winner. And so I'm hoping to see him get a push out of it. And I love the tsunami. And I think that's a move live that people like. I think, you can kind of protect that now that you just kind of get to it. Like, we're just going to do this over and over and over again. It's interesting. I don't know how far the push, I think Bronson Reed at this point in his career still has a little bit of a ceiling. I think you need to keep Seth Rollins hot. So it's something for Seth to do. Moves Bronson up the card a bit. But were you as entertained as I were for that 5-minute segment, or did you think this is stupid?
Well, first I thought it was stupid, right? Because I was like, I thought Seth, like I said, like we all said, I thought it was there. But then you think of what Bronson said earlier in the night on Monday Night Raw, just jumping a little bit. He said he had to do it himself. What better way than to take out a guy like Seth Rollins? Yeah. And I've always said Bronson Reed is an amazing performer. And that tsunami, for being like 350 pounds, whatever he is, that is incredible. Yeah. He is so athletic. And he just kept doing it and doing it.
That was the entertaining part.
And it was awesome to see. And, well, I think it's dumb in a way. It's smart for him. It's smart to do that. But at the same time, I'm like, they want to keep Seth Rollins hot because I think they still need to do Seth Rollins versus CM Punk at WrestleMania. But having Bronson Reed, feud with him is great. But who do you have winning that? You can't bury one or the other because you don't want to bury Bronson because he is going to be one of the stars they're trying to make. They keep inserting him into all these feuds. He was in the Sheamus feud. All these feuds. He's always like the third guy. Yeah. And now he's going to potentially have a legitimate one-on-one with a top guy, unless they're dumb and they have Seth, continue, do two feuds at the same time. But yes, I was entertained by the tsunamis. Those were beautiful. Yeah. And like you said, it was great because you got what's his name? Justin Jordan. Was that his name?
Kurt Angle's son. Yeah.
Jordan something.
Something Jordan.
Yeah, he was one
part
half
of Alpha Academy.
Yeah, Alpha Academy.
American Alpha was it?
American Alpha with Chad Gable.
Yeah.
Even trying to stop him. All of them were out there. The tsunami after tsunami.
Yeah.
I thought it was
just
great.
didn't stop.
Yeah, I thought it was fun once I got over the initial what the heck are they doing, portion of it. So yeah, I thought that was a little fun.
Would it have been better if Seth had like a bracelet or something?
I don't know. I don't know. What is Bronson Reed attached to?
I don't know.
We don't even know, anything like that. Maybe if he would have stolen the Andre the Giant trophy,
had
that under his stomach or something like that. No, but it was fun. It's really nice to see the tsunamis like that.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
Yeah, and I'm excited for it. Again, I think it's fresh at least, and I think you probably have Seth Rollins win the feud and still get Bronson Reed over as a threat. And I think they've already somewhat established that. All right, let's take a quick break here on Nuclear Heat. We are running out of time, so I don't know if we'll do a full Raw review, but we still got some matches on SummerSlam, and we got to talk about the Wyatt Six debut, which we always hold for the end because that's what Raw does. They always hold it for the very end. So we'll talk about that. And in the end of SummerSlam, of course, Gunther and Damian Priest, Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. We'll talk about it next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
Liberty Law Group is committed to the defense of liberty for those accused and the pursuit of justice for those injured. Liberty Law Group's relentless trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and personal injury law. We believe in treating every client with respect, compassion, and understanding. We know that navigating the legal system is stressful and overwhelming, but Liberty Law Group will carry that burden for you. When you're facing legal issues, make the right call. 877-42-LIBERTY. That's 877-42-LIBERTY.
Ready to score big with your projects? Look no further than Edward Stone, the MVP of natural stone for over 2 decades. Edward Stone is cranking out over 30,000 square feet every week and offers a winning lineup of over 70 quality natural veneer stone selections. Their unbeatable variety and experienced team will ensure your project is a success, whether it's a home renovation or a commercial build. And hey, they're not just about stone. They've got an all-star lineup of fireplaces, cast stone, brick, and much more. Swing by one of their locations in Lincoln or Omaha today and experience the Edward Stone difference, your reliable choice for over 20 years.
Stevens & Smith Construction is a full-service, employee-owned concrete company that specializes in residential and commercial foundations and flat work. They've been a leader in the concrete industry since 1971, with nearly 250 employees combining from more than 2,000 years of service. With locations in Lincoln, Omaha, and Kansas City, they're united in quality, integrity, and professionalism to create excellence in construction. Learn more today at stevensandsmith.com.
Announcing Acres' end of summer sales event. Acres has dropped its prices on select late model John Deere tractors, combines, and corn heads. Act now and upgrade your equipment before harvest season. Trade in your old equipment today and get unbelievable discounts that could save you over $100,000. With great financing options and our A-plus support, there's no better time to buy. Visit your local Acres store or see the huge savings at acres.com. That's AKRS.com to see the best prices in the nation.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT. From cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation right now at appliedconnective.com.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Big Box.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Thanks for joining us here as we talk a little bit of wrestling on 93.7 The Ticket. We are going through the SummerSlam card and just near the end of it, which I thought was an excellent premium live event from Cleveland. We are now on the World Heavyweight Championship match between Gunther and Damian Priest. Of course, this match ends up with Gunther on top to win the World Heavyweight Championship. They gave him King of the Ring. Of course, he had the long Intercontinental title run. So they've built up that character for quite some time, and I thought did a good job with him on Raw last night. But, of course, part of this bigger story here is Damian Priest. He certainly has something to do.
Yep.
As the Judgment Day had this big breakup at SummerSlam, Finn Balor a part of it. He initially came to the ring. You thought he might help Damian Priest, or at least that's the thinking that you're supposed to have as predictability goes here. I think everybody knew he might turn on Damian Priest at some point, which he did. He helped Gunther escape a pin by putting his leg on the rope. And then ultimately Damian Priest sees it on the big screen. I thought they did a good job there, and then wants to go and choke out Damian Priest. Gunther, wants to go and choke out Finn Balor. Gunther takes advantage, eventually chokes Damian Priest out, and becomes the World Heavyweight Champion. And then, of course, last night we can kind of tie it in. Priest calls out Finn Balor. We see the new Judgment Day, which is basically the old Judgment Day now without Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, who they've turned on. We mentioned it earlier. So it just, again, maybe you could have had Priest against Finn Balor in his run. The other notable thing is that they really, they've been slowly turning Damian Priest face.
Yeah.
And I think this was the time that they really turned him face. And so, last night, he's calling to the crowd. The crowd loves him. He's calling him family. And so it's just interesting that they do that post-championship rather than doing that in championship, in this feud in championship. But again, last night we had championship after championship after championship, and Drew McIntyre and CM Punk is the only blood feud that made it to the card. Priest, Balor doesn't need any sort of championship. It's interesting.
Yeah, and, I'll say this. We talked about Damian Priest not being a great champion. We thought it was kind of stale, just didn't have it. Why is it that 2 weeks before we know he's going to lose his title, he starts catching heat? He's doing great promos. He's great in the ring. Besides the botches, I thought the match with Gunther was great. I thought that was a banger. And when Finn came out to help, that kind of got Damian Priest going. Did you hear that pop from the crowd when initially he got out of that first sleeper hold? I mean, that place went crazy. Everybody was like, hey, retain. That, I got a little sad that he lost, but I agree with you. Initially I thought they needed the title. I don't think they need that title. Finn can carry. Finn's great. Like we said, he deserves to be pushed. Somebody that's kind of been at the bottom. Damian, hey, he's getting a lot better there. Like I said, just speaking to the crowd, just kind of in the ring and all that stuff. I'm excited to see this, the Terror Twins versus the New Judgment Day or whatever they're going to call themselves on there. But man, I thought that match was great. Great storytelling. Finn really, really sold it well. Hey, and it makes sense because Finn, just explained it. Hey, you turned your back on the Judgment Day. We're supposed to be there for you. You didn't want us anymore. It all makes sense, And then JD McDonough, Damian Priest never liked him. Damian Priest never wanted him in. Hey, so he's gonna, side with Finn and all them. And
Carlito's kind of working on his way in.
Yeah, and it all makes sense, And to kind of tie it, I'll kind of go a little off here, but Dominic, turning on Rhea. Initially, Rhea beat up on Dominic, before joining on the Judgment Day. So people are like, he never forgot. So storytelling, while long-term, it's been amazing on there. And I'm really excited to see what they do with Damian Priest. And I do like that, when he came out on Monday Night Raw, he still said, hey, my world championship, I can go get that at any time. I can do that because, you initially think maybe they'd have to try to run it back or something. But man, I'm excited to see what they do with Finn versus, essentially Damian, and Rhea versus this Judgment Day.
And I'm interested too because Damian, we talked about it before, is so tied to the Judgment Day and that group that how's he going to do it on a single run? And we won't really know till he's past this. This is going to be fire, and it's going to set him off onto something that he can do. But during that time, they've got to kind of iron out his character a little bit because I think you got to change the opening. Yeah, is All Rise, is that Judgment Day related, so you got to kind of change some things around. But no doubt the fears that we've had about, him standing alone, he seems more prepared and better coming out of his championship, better prepared. And that's ultimately, what you want out of a title run. Nobody's going to hold it forever, but if you can come out of it better than where you went into it, that's the whole elevation part of it. So, I think Damian Priest, they did a really good job, despite, like we said, a few of the botches that went on. And with the breakup, I just think it's fantastic. It's really got my eyes glued to the TV on all that.
Yep.
Final match was Cody Rhodes defeating Solo Sikoa. Of course, this was in a Bloodline Rules match, which Cody Rhodes feels comfortable in these. He's 2-0 now. They got to be careful with how often they do that, which they never explained to begin with. And Bloodline Rules apparently just means a lot of guys can come out and interfere, which, you could just call that a no DQ. So it is, I think they got to be careful with some of that stuff, but they set it up to kind of make the odds against him. Of course, met up with Arn Anderson, who told him, that he's got some friends back there. I could have gone without the RKO and KO thing, just because that's been kind of the super good guys all along. But Jacob Fatu was really making a difference, kind of clearing house there. He ultimately gets hurt, which is the biggest question coming out of this match. Was that storyline hurt, or was he actually hurt and they had to make an adjustment there on the fly? It'll be bad if he's actually hurt, because remember, he is now new tag team champion after SmackDown. But in any case, Cody Rhodes gets the win. Roman Reigns makes his reappearance, which everybody was waiting for, and again was the only reason you could have put Rhodes and Solo Sikoa in this spot. So I think you're very interested to see Roman put a team together and go up against the his old bloodline. The question is, what do you do next with Cody?
Yeah, I don't know. We kind of talked about that. No idea what you do with Cody at this point, because part of it was you kind of assumed Roman was coming back for Solo, because he didn't like it, which he ends up doing. He ends up Superman punching and spearing Solo, so that way Cody gets. And it was interesting, because he helps Cody win, but he's staring Cody down at the same time, and Cody's staring him down. So it's kind of like a mutual respect, in a way. But at the same time, it kind of felt like, I'm going to still come after you once I'm done with them. So I really love that. But you're right. What do you do with Cody? Because Randy, who we all assume was maybe next, he's going after Gunther now. Yeah. Kevin Owens. I mean, that doesn't do it for me, because like you said, Kevin Owens has kind of just been the sidekick.
Heel KO is always fun, though. I'll always invite heel
KO. It is, but then you have to think of, is there a legitimate reason other than I've been doing your dirty work, I deserve a title shot. You don't want that. But the thing I'm more curious, like you said, the rumors are that Jacob Fatu just broke his ankle. Like you said, he's kind of been the one henchman for Solo that we're all like, okay, he's doing great. He's believable. He's hot. Like you said, he's a tag team champ now. I mean, a broken ankle. I'm no doctor, but I don't think you can do much. You got one of them with an eye patch, one of them with the broken ankle.
The new bloodline's struggling a little bit, huh?
So, it's curious there, but man, Roman, he returns 5 minutes. Huge impact. I'm SmackDown has been horrible, but I'm excited for it now, to see where they go for it, on here. Roman kind of being back, doing his thing, going up against Solo. Man, I thought it was a great, the match itself, predictable, everybody involved, like you said, but it was so worth it for Roman coming back and getting that storyline going.
Well, and two, I think Solo is an interesting part here too, because he is going to continue to have months atop the card.
Yep.
And he just feels like maybe Lex Luger earlier when they were trying to replace Hulk Hogan as your All-American, and it's just like, this isn't the same.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the thing with Solo. I don't know if he's like, this might be the height of his career, and it might kind of stunt his growth because he's being outshined, like you said, by one of his henchmen. So that's not necessarily good. So we'll kind of see how all that plays out. Wyatt 6 debut against American Made, Joey Gacy, Dexter Lumis, and Eric Rowan there on Monday night. I thought it was a great tribute to Bray Wyatt with the rocking chair, his music, all that. I do think that there is a time where the love of Bray Wyatt and seeing that go, I just think it has a ceiling to it as well. I don't know how long that's going to last, but I love what they're doing. It's not a kind of a tribute to Bray Wyatt. It's full on, and it's much needed because Bray Wyatt, one of the best characters of all time, of course, recently deceased.
Yep. Yeah. No, I thought it was a good debut. I'm a little sad for the American Made because, I feel like that could be good with Chad Gable, and they're kind of just being fed to the Wyatt 6 right now, But I thought their in-ring debut was good. I think they can all perform well. I'm excited to see what they do next on there. And I thought it was a good way to end the show and a great debut for them.
Yeah. So we will talk about all that when we return next week, Tuesday night on Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll talk about SmackDown, which comes up Friday, and, of course, Monday Night Raw. Of course, Roman Reigns will appear on SmackDown. We'll have plenty to talk about there. And again, the wrestling's just been great. So that'll wrap it up for Nuclear Heat here. We will be back next Tuesday, and we wait to talk to you then.
Stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.